All right, welcome to the next discussion about Anita Sarkeesian and her video on women as background decoration. Now, I want to get into a more serious argument. In this video, she constantly talks about the nature of video games and what kind of a media format they are. She has two arguments about this, and I want to discuss one of them now. So in her latest video, Anita Sarkeesian makes two arguments about the nature of games as a medium. In very general terms, the two arguments are about interactivity. They're an argument about interactivity and, in other words, what games encourage and what games do. So let's start with what games encourage you to do. So if this is not her argument, by the way, I apologize. However, she has not made it easy in this video to find the argument and never clearly states it. So please correct me if you feel like this is the wrong argument. Her argument has to run something like this. 1. Designers make the games and the rules in the games. 2. We test the rules in the game to see what we can do. 3. The play comes from finding boundaries in the game. 4. Therefore, you are always implicitly encouraged to do whatever you can do in the game. Too long didn't read? Whatever you can do, you're always implicitly encouraged to do. Okay, that seems to be one of our arguments about the nature of games. Okay, well, this argument to me immediately comes off as strange because if we make a very simple and ridiculous thought experiment and apply the idea to the real world, it doesn't work at all. If we can rape and murder, are we encouraged to? If Anita were to meet God, would she complain that God gave people the ability to make wrong choices and it would be better if we had never been given free will at all? And the Grand Inquisitor would be in the background patting her in the back? But I'm not a fool. And I know that this thought experiment is not perfect because games do have gods, the programmers and the creators of them, whereas this world has no god, only empty nothing. So to be very dry and serious, I'm not quite sure how this argument works, even in games. So if it does, it needs far more subtlety than it has. The first thing I noticed is the word always. She says always implicitly encouraged. This is simply not true. Most games have a main plot that you are encouraged to move on to see the rest of the game narrative play out. The designers usually make the game in such a way that you are nudged or pushed towards that experience. Anita herself states that punishments that you receive for killing NPCs are minimal, so as in order not to interfere with the core gaming experience. If you want to claim that anything is always implicitly encouraged, and you want the word encouraged to have any meaning, what's almost always being encouraged is most probably the core gaming experience. In other words, the narrative of the game. So that kind of leaves us with a different argument, right? That leaves us with her telling us that whatever is permitted is encouraged. Okay, well this, I guess, is because the creators of the game allowed a certain option or possibility to happen. So Anita claims that we are encouraged to kill sex workers or sexualized women simply by us having the possibility to do it because games want us to test them and their limits. Well, if we take this argument seriously, we have to add some subtlety. We have to at least admit the possibility of levels of encouragement. For example, my first point would be that the continuation of the narrative of the game is more encouraged than going on a sexy woman killing spree. So now she has to claim that you are more encouraged to kill women than you are to do other things to make this argument work. This will be game specific, and perhaps you will find this at some times in some games. However, the great majority of the time is simply an option you are given, and she herself admits this. I've never heard of a sexy woman body count mission. If there was one, I hope that she would have at least mentioned it in her argument. Here's the biggest problem with his argument is she suffers from a very severe lack of imagination, because you are encouraged to kill women just as much as you are encouraged to not kill them, to run up and down a street, land planes on buildings, or make your own fantasy adventure. Especially in those moral choice games. I mean, you're given the option to do it and not to do it, right? So you want to explore the other option too, right? Because games encourage us to explore everything. So you're just as much encouraged to make the immoral choice as you are the moral choice by that logic, right? When it gets to the level of encouraged simply meaning permitted, one wonders why she simply didn't use the word permitted. Probably because the argument would simply be a tautology. The question of who told you to kill that sex worker seems to really have no clear-cut answer here. Okay, so I just want to blur this argument a little bit and
Mm.
and make you question a little bit about the nature of this argument. At least let's add some subtlety and say some things are more encouraged than others.
Mm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should say not encouraged but invited.
And what's the
Because,
difference between encouraged and invited?
well, encouraged, it seems like there's a push on your back. Like you said, Dustin, there's always the hand of the game designers trying to push you through the main plot. Whereas,
by the way, do you disagree with that?
It certainly depends on
the game.
game.
Generally.
Yeah, in the vast majority of games, yes.
Okay. Good. Okay.
And, I mean, I could, and Catherine, I could just sit there and drink rum coke at the bar all I want.
Yeah, you could.
Or even like if you think about a game like Sonic, you're kind of encouraged to do a speed run, aren't you? But like you could go back and get all of the rings behind the trees and then the jumps later, even on a simplistic one like Sonic, right?
Yeah. Which actually, this is kind of leading well to the point I'm just trying to make, and that I think that the option to kill these sex workers, just like the option to kill anybody in these games, or in BioShock with your moral choices, says having your two moral choices, games Chrono Trigger with its multiple endings, we can go that far back, and all of these things, they're just options put in here to extend the time you spend in the game experience. So they want you to explore all of these options in hopes that you'll get more enjoyment out of the game, you'll spend more time with the game, which would then, in the end, encourage you to, let's use the word encourage as little as possible, inspire you, to purchase their future products. So in that sense of the word, or you could say they're encouraging you because they're putting it in there as an option. After you've played through the main game, you've done all the things they're pushing you to do. So you then have the option to go through and play with all the other toys they left sitting around you, all the other options you'd explore, all the the multiple endings, whatever, for additional factor they put in there, with hopes that you'll enjoy the game more. So there's certain, in that case, where you're invited, and you could use the word encouraged.
I just don't know what to make of the fact that you're equally as encouraged to not do that. I mean, this argument doesn't go anywhere unless she says she's basically trying to tell you that you're basically encouraged to go on sexy woman killing sprees. But I mean, what do you think of my idea of levels of encouragement? I mean, you're equally as encouraged not to, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, why isn't it? So basically, it's basically down to the level of permission. Basically, you're permitted to do it.
I would, like I said, I would put
very low level.
Yeah, a couple of levels above permitted because they're hoping. Well, okay, maybe hoping is not the right word either, but just like in Sonic, I'm permitted to stand still until time runs out. Now, they don't really want me to do that. That's not something they didn't put the option for me to stand still until time runs out in the game to help extend my gameplay time. They put the Chaos Emeralds in there for me to as a way for me to extend my gameplay time. So, whereas the option to run up and down the street doing nothing in Grand Theft Auto, now I shouldn't keep talking about Grand Theft Auto. I've hardly played any of the games, but the option is there. But they did not specifically, well, and you can't really specifically put it, well, yes, you can, I suppose they could put it that way. But anyways, they did not put the options in there specifically to extend your gameplay.
Do you think they put the option to kill prostitutes in to extend your game time?
I think they put the option to kill everyone in there.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's not in Grand Theft Auto. It's not specifically killing sex workers that's in there as a gameplay option to extend your enjoyment of the game. It's everyone, of course, it applies to all of them, but you can't deny the fact that as they are inviting you, to kill everyone, they're at the same time inviting you to kill these sex workers, which what Anita failed to do here was show why you are more invited or more encouraged to kill a sex worker in Grand Theft Auto than to kill anything else.
Unless you wanted to make some kind of connection between like some kind of erotic thrill you'd get for killing like a hot woman.
I think she might have been trying to imply that when she had the scene from Hitman Absolution.
Yeah.
Where the guy was dragging
carrying her on the bodies. Yeah.
That we're meant to derive a perverse pleasure. So she seems to be trying to assume that the designers at least are thinking you're gonna,
Isn't it funny that in that exact scene you were actually implicitly encouraged not to kill them?
Yeah.
I just find that ironic that the scene she uses, you're actually in that actual scene, you're implicitly encouraged not to. In fact, you see them as a danger.
Yeah.
I mean,
like walking obstacles. Yeah.
It's almost like Metal Gear Solid, basically. I mean,
yeah.
Are you encouraged to kill everyone in Metal Gear?
Given as an option.
It's an option, yeah.
A lot of people.
I mean, if we're going to be honest, what is the main gameplay? It's sneak, right? So levels, right?
But just like people who do go through and play, kill everyone runs. And I've seen people do this. As if somebody would do a kill everyone run in Hitman, I'm not sure if it's possible. I haven't played it. That's whether or not the game would just shut you down halfway through or something. But if you were to do a kill everyone run in Hitman of that level, it would require you to kill those two strippers.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird to bring this this up as evidence when it's such a low level encouragement. I mean, like this argument seems disingenuous in the use of always implicitly encouraged, right? I mean, like, yeah, okay, if you want to fudge with the word encouraged, but I mean, encouraged has a meaning, right? Encouraged means someone's pushing you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems like there's some fudging going on here. Like, well, you're permitted to, therefore you're encouraged to, because we know the gamers are going to do every single thing in our game. Well, really? I mean, what if they're thinking that it's making a more real gaming experience? What if they don't expect you to do a second playthrough? What if they want you to feel the moral qualms there?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
That's why I certainly think, implicitly encouraged is definitely too strong. Invited, it's simply for the idea that it is something you can do to get more enjoyment out of the game. And this is kind of the middle ground I like to find in this argument.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say. I mean, I guess that's the best. That's the most I'd be willing to give. I don't know. I'm just not quite sure what to make of this argument when it falls this low. Right. Basically, she's saying in some games you're sometimes permitted to kill sexualized women. Basically, then it goes all the way down to that. All right.
Yeah.
But in Fallout, you're actively discouraged.
Yeah.
And depending on what's going on, right? I mean, it just seems. I don't know, there's a lot more subtlety that needs to happen here to make this argument work for me. And that's all. That's all I want to say about that for now.
Yeah, cool.
Anyone have anything to say about whatever you can do, you should, or are encouraged to do? No?
Well, I think if we do, we should save for next segment.
Okay.
And we will see you next segment. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, see ya.